It's that time of the year, folks. Do you hear that? 2 years ago, I found this beautiful movie called The Bishop's Wife. It's about this freaking bishop who wants to create this grand cathedral, and while struggling to find the funding for it, this angel enters his life for better or worse. Long ago, I created this video about a movie from 1944, and I meant to keep up with these. I meant to create at least monthly videos on the classics, but I just never did. Since then, my subscriber base has grown a good amount, and I just want to keep introducing these ancient relics to those people who might not know about them. Who definitely don't know about them. I hope you're all doing well. The Bishop's Wife stars a personal favorite of mine, Cary Grant, who plays a suave angel Dudley. A man who I'm just finding out had a bigger career than I expected, David Niven as our title lead, Bishop Henry. And I don't have a tagline for Loretta Young, who plays his wife Julia, except that she was in this other movie I watched, and I found myself asking,
is that the stranger?
Because the movie is called Rachel and the Stranger, but she wasn't the stranger, she was Rachel.
Anyway.
The Bishop's Wife released in 1947, and as I said, Henry Brougham the Bishop is trying to get this cathedral built, and after having a meeting gone wrong, Dudley appears before him. Except at a surface level analysis, Dudley isn't the best angel for Henry. You see, old Henry has been busy and occupied lately, and his marriage to Julia is a little lackluster. They don't go out as much, they stop partaking in activities, and they don't visit the people and the places they adored so much. Julia's trying to go out, but Henry's like...
And Henry and I are going out together.
I'm terribly sorry, but I find I have some appointments.
Dudley could represent you at those meetings, couldn't he?
Oh, no, that's out of the question. You see, they expect me. It would never do if I sent an assistant.
So basically, Dudley serves as a companion to Julia. And they go out here, and they go out there, they visit the professor, and there's a whole skating scene along the way. I'm telling you, it's a freaking blast, and essentially what's going on here is that Dudley, the angel, is fulfilling everything that Julia has been wanting to do, and he's pretty much made an impact on everybody in their lives, in Julia and Henry's lives, such as their daughter.
You know why? Because the angel put another idea into his head.
Sylvester the taxi driver.
Because you and the little lady have restored my faith in human nature. That's why. Good night, Dudley.
The housekeeper, too.
Oh, Mr. Dudley, I knew you'd come back. I knew you hadn't walked out on us.
Of course not.
Now let's put a pin in this so we can jump to real-life discussion surrounding the movie's production. The Bishop's Wife was directed by Henry Coster. I'm sure you all know who that lovely gentleman is. But originally, William A. Sider was tasked with directing this production here. But then he got replaced. Apparently the movie he was making wasn't all that. Sider's version of the movie had Grant as the bishop and Niven as the angel. But once Coster took over, he wasn't seeing the vision. He said,
Cary, I know you want to be the lead role, sonny, but this isn't the way. You've got to be the angel.
I know some of you haven't seen it, but I can't imagine the roles being reversed. Take a look at this scene.
Well, Henry, do you believe I am what I say I am? Tell the world you're being visited by an angel. You can't do that, making so many mistakes. Yes, I see.
Grant's slight height and 6 years on Niven really make sense for him to be the angel. But do you remember when I said that Dudley isn't the best angel for Henry? Henry might not be spending time with his wife, but he still has a heart and loves Julia. He pretty much has caught wind of their antics and how much time he's been spending with his wife. And even though Dudley doesn't make an appearance at all during this scene, you know there's some divine intervention at play here. So by now, maybe you're wondering, what makes this movie so good? How is it good? This random ass angel comes out of nowhere, acts as husband, and ruins the bishop's life pretty much. Well, yes, there is some truth to that statement, but Dudley really does improve everybody's life, and that's where the heartwarming stuff comes along. After he shows up, everyone that has screen time seems pretty positive. It makes me think that everyone was going through the motions of their day-to-day lives, being cogs to a machine. Even if they weren't unhappy, I don't think they were ecstatic. There are two characters in particular that I'll highlight. The first one being Professor Wutheridge, played by Monty Woolley, who, fun fact, eventually along the way in his career was known as the Beard. And he also has a star on the Walk of Fame. The professor is an old friend of the married couple, and probably important to note that he's an atheist. He's been trying to write a book for years and years, right? He seems like an honest man who lost his way, so Dudley instills upon him some knowledge and inspiration. Through that one experience, he starts to finally write his history, as he puts it, and is so overjoyed by it.
My history. I'm actually writing it.
And this is a random note to make right now, but in that scene where Dudley inspires the professor, he does this to their wine. What is that CGI work? What's going on in 1947? I need to know. This movie actually features some other pretty cool tricks, such as a typewriter typing itself. But finishing up on the professor here, by the end of his storyline, the atheist finds out that Dudley is an angel, has no arguments about it. In fact, he actually believes it and ends up attending church. Attending mass? It's a great arc for him to pay back the newfound inspiration to the angel that gave it to him. And before we move on to the second character that was touched, could you believe that mofos back in the day were not watching this movie because they thought it was religious?
Well, the title says bishop, and you just said the atheist went to church.
Yes. The story does have background elements regarding religion, like the bishop, cathedral, angel. But that's really it. It's more about the people involved rather than the beliefs. In some states, I assume it's states, they actually changed the title to Cary and the Bishop's Wife. How are you going to use the actor's first name in a fictional title? And some areas just put a black box on the poster that said, "Have you heard about Cary and the Bishop's Wife?" Marketing is a bitch because the box office had a 25% increase after these changes were made. Beats me, man. The second character I want to showcase is Mrs. Agnes Hamilton. She's a bit of a hard ass and a mini antagonist at first towards the bishop's attempts at raising money, but in the second half of the movie, Dudley shows up to her home and plays her a melody she hasn't heard in over 40 years. This was a composition from the only man she loved but couldn't marry because he did not have the means to provide, and so he split off. Because she had been shook up by this tune, compassion filled her soul and her spirit, and she granted Henry the Bishop not a cathedral, but to be the director of her funds. Agnes Hamilton is played by Gladys Cooper, who had an extensive background in theater for over 30 years before slapping up Hollywood. She starred and gave Oscar-nominated performances in My Fair Lady, you know, that movie with Audrey Hepburn, and another oldie I watched on a random midnight called Now Voyager. I always liked that title. It's like a two-word sentence. I have seen this movie about 3 or 4 times now at this point, and if I'm being honest, I haven't been in the festive, cheery spirits as of lately. As I played the movie back a few days ago to jog my memory, I didn't find it quite endearing as I used to. Why did I think this movie was so good? Well, let's pull my face back up on the screen to say that my head wasn't fully in it. My attention span is a little shot at the moment, and I've kind of been slacking on my channel, so thoughts on how to progress my success have been looming. But on top of everything that happens in the plot, this movie truly hits home in the last 25 minutes. I've been tap dancing and beating around the bush of the plot because if you've seen this, you know well enough what I am talking about, and if you haven't, I want you to experience it for yourself. In the last 25 minutes, Dudley enlightens Mrs. Hamilton. The professor finds out Dudley is an angel, and Dudley completes his assignment. The reason he freaking showed up in their life. We're back. I didn't want to re-record that. That's why it was all voiceover for a couple minutes there. So the marriage between Henry and Julia Brahm wasn't kindling anymore. Julia wanted to spend time with Henry, but cathedral. Henry praised what he believed was for a cathedral, but in actuality, it was for guidance. Dudley comes into Henry's life and spends all this time with his wife, making him jealous, making him realize what he's missing out on and what he could lose. But even after all this suffering that Henry has endured, by the end of it all, he tells Dudley this.
I don't trust you, Dudley.
You may, Henry, because your prayer has been answered.
Spoiler for the ending, but of course, Dudley can't stay. After Henry realizes that the angel has indeed helped him out and hasn't screwed his life over, he asks him this.
Goodbye, Henry.
Dudley, if we should need you again, will you come back?
What's further sad about this is that Dudley genuinely wanted to be part of the world he found himself in. Okay, sure, he did gain feelings for Julia, but this angel here longed for the human experience he dug himself into. Another spoiler for the end, but after all is said and done, everybody's memory of Dudley is wiped and they are all left with their newfound steps in life. I believe what is Christmas or the Eve, we see the professor attend mass, and from that scene I mentioned earlier of the typewriter going off by itself, Henry reads the sermon that Dudley wrote for him, and, well, I won't directly show it, but Dudley walks away after hearing Henry speak for a bit. The music starts blaring, and we get the good old The End. The Bishop's Wife is a movie that went through 2 directors, role swapping, at least $700,000 in losses, and a botched box office because people thought the movie was religious, and was still nominated for Best Director, Best Editing, Best Music in a Comedy or Drama, even Best Motion Picture, which is pretty damn cool because that's one of the most coveted categories. And last but not least, the 5th and only nomination it won, Best Sound Recording. The story of The Bishop's Wife always warms my heart because of how many lives are improved throughout the runtime of the movie, and because at the end of the day, there is no bad blood between Bishop and Angel, even though they got off on the wrong foot for 95% of it. The entity that has blessed everybody is not even a memory to the humans. That angel who had so much fun in their lives walks away alone, content that he has succeeded in his mission. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a broken record here, but I have no clue who is watching this video. And if you made it this far, I really, really do appreciate it. And I just want to say, hope you had a happy Hanukkah, a blessed Christmas. I hear that's a popular holiday, right? And a great Kwanzaa, you know, the trifecta of the holiday season. Old music and cinema unlock the sentimentality upon me or within me, and I'm using the credits music to supplement that feeling here right now in my own outro. So I hope at least one person here watches the movie. If you've watched this video, it's free on so many platforms, and I'll be leaving a link in the description to the version that's here on YouTube. And that video was actually uploaded a week ago, so that's pretty fucking cool. My last video for the year about the Hunger Games shall be dropping before the year ends. It's the last one. It's gonna be a different style, but it's a grand one, I promise. Love what you like, my friends. Protect your energy. You are important.